What is up, nation? It is AJ Reilly here live on Monday night, as we have been doing and will continue to do with my man, Eric the Blue Kool-Aid Vincent from the DSN News Desk and the co-host here on Beyond the Box. We are so pumped to be here tonight to discuss the Detroit Lions, to discuss Hard Knocks, to look at just the upcoming season. And then we got a really interesting fan question that we want to hear from you guys regarding. And we'll get to all of that. And before we do, Eric, I want to remind everybody that wherever they're at on social media, make sure that you are liking and subscribing and following Detroit Sports Nation to get all of your Detroit sports news and major news at large, because we cover everything. Make sure you click that bell on YouTube too, so you can get notifications when our latest and best content drops. Make sure you're doing that. Eric, how has your week been, my man?
It's been good, man. Monday off to a pretty good start. I've had a pretty good day off. Just up here chilling, and I was excited to talk to you. I got the update on my Twitter that Baker Mayfield was named the Week 1 starter, so I knew you were real happy somewhere at home. So I
Look,
was really
man,
excited to be here. I
I'm
was really
surprised you
excited to
didn't
come see
text me
you.
like right away. Like, hey,
I should have. Nope. I wanted to see your face, and I
I
just
don't
can
know if
imagine
that
what it's
wouldn't have
like.
been the same case if he was here in Detroit either. Might have been.
You keep wanting to make me mad with that image in my head. You just won't stop with that.
Hey, listen, it would solve the other issue that we have of this doggone backup quarterback argument that we're going to get into. But
Let's do that. Let's get into that.
I'm so sick of talking about backup quarterbacks.
I thought you liked TB12, man. What do you mean?
Yeah, the one in Tampa Bay. I like
Who?
him.
There's another one? No,
Yeah.
what do you mean? We got the TB12 here in Detroit. He showed who he is last week.
When the Colts broadcast is legitimately saying, yeah, Tom Boyle has not seen much professional football action until he was put into the starting lineup last year. Like, you're like, okay, that is the backup quarterback situation for the Detroit Lions, because if you had to, make me choose at this moment right now, it would be Tim Boyle. But we'll get into that. We will get into that. We got Lions at Colts. We got Hard Knock reactions. We also want to talk a little college football and Big Ten, and they're insane. Yeah, just dropping dollars and popping bottles, right? Like,
yes, all
just
the above.
insane media deal.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we will. And then, like I said, fan question: 3 of your favorite most forgotten Lions. We want to hear about it in the chat. We would love to put your comments up on screen, so make sure that you are commenting, dropping those thoughts in, because we've got Darren here who's watching Midwestern Ontario sports coverage. All right. So make sure that you are following. Thank you, Darren, for commenting. Everybody else comment as well. Eric, 27-26.
Mm-hmm.
Did everything they could to potentially lose another preseason game, which we've talked about. We don't really think matters all that much. What did you take away from that matchup with the Indianapolis Colts? Now, they had been joint practices leading into this game, so no starters from either team. And we say starters, right? Because, I mean, Jeff Okudah was technically on the field, but maybe that's a little indication that Jeff Okudah is not a starter, nor should be.
I was very concerned about that when I saw it. I was watching with my homie. He was like, "What? He's hurt though." I'm like, "No, that's a concern." I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a concern.
But yeah, some of my takeaways. And again, they're second stringers, but depth is important, and I love the depth of the trenches that I saw.
Yes,
the offensive line looked fantastic against the Colts. So did the defensive line. They got some good pressure on the quarterback. Austin Bryant had a really nice game, getting 2
great
sacks.
Game.
He was all over the place. I was really impressed with what I saw from him.
Did you hear the color? Did you hear the color analyst for the Colts? Like, it was like the fourth quarter, and there was some right tackle that Bryant was going against, and he was like, "This kid just don't have it. He cannot hang with Bryant." I was like, that's not how you're supposed to, but okay, thank you for at least being honest.
Yeah, we appreciate the objectivity. I mean, we can't ask for too
fine.
much.
Like, he's like, this kid cannot stay with Bryant. He's having a phenomenal day. He's got to get faster.
And that's what you want to see.
Yeah, all right. I like it.
Yep.
I like Bryant off the edge, though. He looked good.
He did.
Looked really good.
He did. Showed a lot of array of moves, showed power. He showed a good first step. And we talked about this before. It can't just be Hutchinson all season. He cannot
No.
be the only one that's making an impact on that D line. So I love what I saw from them, especially against the run. I think they let up like 30 yards total the whole game. It's fantastic. So offensive line as well. They were very impressive for
Yeah.
3 different backs that were in the backfield running for the Lions offense. They got a lot of good conversions, a lot of good pressure, and I think that's something impressive to build on with what they need in the trench in terms of depth.
It absolutely was. Before we get into the quarterback talk, because that's going to probably take up a little bit of time, I want to tell you something I was impressed with.
What you got?
Um, and I saw, even when I wasn't necessarily looking for it, but Kirby Joseph involved in a lot of plays.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he was
Very
late a
impressive.
couple of times. I'm thinking about the Colts' last touchdown, right? They kind of ran like it was like a post seam. It was some kind of like 3 receiver move, and
Yeah.
Joseph was on the middle guy. Looked like he ended up playing like a deep safety, and then was not able to get over fast enough to, who was it that caught that touchdown? I don't even remember who it was that caught the touchdown, but the
I remember
Colts
what you're talking
receiver to
about. Yeah.
break up that play. So he
Mm-hmm.
was a little bit late, and maybe that's just a little bit of the speed of the game, not being able to, react quick enough yet on the professional level. But a lot of good tackles in the first half from Joseph, a lot of like being around the ball and making plays, and that is really encouraging to go with that back end defensive backfield that we have, right? And
Yep.
Tracy Walker, and I'm blanking on the name of the kid that came over from the Ravens, but adding depth, right?
Yep.
This was a depth game. This was a way to test and evaluate the depth that you have on your roster. And the scoreboard at the end of the day doesn't matter. But I think that there were a lot of encouraging things that came out of Saturday with the Colts.
Yep. And we were just talking about, Dave Cable's quote talking about how
Yeah,
wins are important in preseason. Not necessarily. They matter how you win.
sure.
What you do absolutely matters. Like, you can't win games and build momentum off of how they lost against the Falcons. Now, while again, winning and losing doesn't matter, but those kind of discipline moments and just lack of focus and lack of the ability to hold the football. We're gonna talk about this guy for a while,
Right.
but like those things are things that you have to build on as a young team, and seeing them kind of fix a lot of those mistakes in the second game to at least bounce back and show that they can close out games the right way and responsibly. Those are the things you want to build on. So no, the final score doesn't always matter, but what you do to get there is definitely something important. It's especially if it's not important from the player standpoint, it's definitely important from the coach's standpoint, because it shows more about you than the players at that point in preseason.
I'm gonna push back a little bit on the coaches, because the coaches are not gonna show everything, right? It
Right.
shows more. I think that this is more of a depth thing, right? Is our
Of
depth
course.
better than your depth?
Right.
The X's and O's in preseason, how you manage a game in preseason, yeah, you can practice a little bit, and yeah, you can get like different things where you're trying to determine how you would react in this situation, right? Like, why did the Colts go for 2 at the end of the game? To
Right.
practice,
To
right?
practice. Right.
It No coach in their mind, especially when you're at home, plays for a win in that situation.
Right.
You take the tie, you go to overtime, and play that way. But you need that practice. The same reason why they kicked an onside kick in a
Right.
preseason game. You want to get reps, right? So I think that this preseason not necessarily is going to tell us a whole lot about the 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 Lions and the coaching staff of the Lions, but it's going to tell us a lot more about the depth that the Lions actually have.
It's not so much the X's and O's I'm worried about. It's more so like the disciplinary things. Like, again, we talked about the fumble by Blau in the first game. And then what I was really impressed with the second, they didn't have a lot of penalties. Like, I think they went the whole first half without a single penalty. And
Yeah,
then I
not
think
many
they finished.
penalties all
Yeah,
game. You're right.
like those are the things I pay attention to in terms of coaching, like adjustments, how you set up.
Sure.
I even liked when they went for 2 in the first half, like
Mhm.
or not for 2, when they went for the touchdown instead of just kicking,
Right.
because
Yes.
those are the things you want to
Yes.
see, like coaches like have faith in what they build on, how they game plan for that, and they call the perfect call and it works. So those are the kind of things I pay attention to. Maybe not so much the X's and O's, but how you execute and how disciplined you are play to play to make sure you're, in the right position to win.
So let's see about this quarterback situation, because we got to talk about it, because everybody in their right mind wants to talk about the backup. I cannot remember a time in my life. I cannot remember a time in my life where there have been so many messages and so much social media like fodder about a backup quarterback situation.
This is what we used. You don't remember Mike McMahon? Like, we might be hinting at some of the players that we could tease in the next topic, but I mean, we've always been pre-Stafford and post-Stafford. We've always been a sucker for backup quarterbacks for whatever reason. I don't get it, but I mean, here we are. This is what we're looking at.
Here's what I'm going to say. If your backup quarterback situation is the thing that you want to talk about and are worried about the most
in the preseason,
then you can't be worried about your starters. Like, if that is your utmost concern, then you also have to say that there's nothing else that you're concerned about.
Right.
If that is your belief, that it's like, oh my gosh, this team is like complete except for these doggone backup quarterbacks. Like, come on. Can we talk about the linebacking core for a second? Can we talk about the fact that, like, our offensive line is good, but are we sure that they're going to be able to protect Goff? Are we sure that, as we'll talk about in the Hard Knocks segment here, like, does DeAndre Swift care about even being a professional football player? Just like, if the backup quarterback is your biggest concern, then you can't say that you're concerned about anything else. What's your take on the backup quarterback situation?
Sadly, I have one. I mean, the fact that we're giving takes for it anyways is,
we have to.
This is where we at. So let's do it. Yep.
I analyze. I mean, listen, I was watching the game with a critical eye.
Yeah, listen. I was upset. I was upset with David Blau last game, and I didn't walk away from this game any happier with him. Like, he would just seem out of sync the whole time. Like, the crossing route in this, I think in the second quarter when they were on the goal line, where, what was it, 84? I think I forgot his name. I think Silva. He was reaching back and he's running full speed. He's got to turn around for the ball when all you had to do was lead him. There was another with Pimpleton in the same second quarter. He had him open, but he had to turn back and look for the ball and had it broken up because he couldn't lead him. I didn't like anything that I saw from Blau that game. TB12, my guy, I was very impressed with. He came out on his first drive, found a good rhythm. He got protected well, made some good passes, found Tim Kennedy for his second touchdown of the day. I'm not gonna say I'm impressed, but I was pleased with what I saw. And if I had to make a choice, I think it's a pretty easy call based on what we've seen so far.
I think it's a pretty easy call too. Now look, I give all that crap about caring about our backup quarterback situation, but I knew we were going to talk about it. So guess who I was watching very closely this game? The backup quarterbacks, right? Yeah. That's who I was analyzing, rewinding plays and watching them. And I'll tell you this, David Blau on the first drive looked okay. Mm-hmm. He looked confident. He looked comfortable. He was on time. He was accurate. Like, he moved him down the field, but settled for 3. Why did he settle for 3? Because he misread the defense.
Right.
You had I think it was like a 3rd and 7. It wasn't even 3rd and goal. You had like a 3rd and 7. He throws a 7 route to the corner in between 2 guys when his speed out was wide open.
Yep.
That would have gotten him the first down and kept the drive going. Misreading that defense, forced a ball in between 3 players. He got tipped up for an interception.
Yep.
Those types of mistakes are going to lose you a spot on the roster if you continue to keep doing that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2 games, he has our only turnovers.
Yeah, he has his fumble and then that interception he threw. Yeah, that's it.
And then Tim Boyle comes in the second half, and he's smooth, he's calm, he's collected. Now, I think that Blau is obviously a better athlete, has a little bit more escapability.
Mm-hmm.
Boyle, on the other hand, I think could actually command, he commanded an offense against 3rd and 4th stringers. So it is what it is with the backup quarterback situation. The problem is, regardless of who you put in there, it's not going to be a great situation for anybody. No. Because Boyle, we already talked about, doesn't have experience, and we've seen him. There was one point in his career where he had like more interceptions than touchdowns thrown. So, he has a problem reading defenses too, and he's less athletic. So it's just it's not great. But there's one more preseason game left, right? It's like we got a few more weeks of hard knocks. And so I think that it's time to put away the Colts. We've had our practices. We've heard the trash talk from Jamal Williams and whoever it was on the Colts side. We don't really care about him that much because Jamal owned him. And the proof will be on Hard
3 straight
Knocks
times.
tomorrow
Yes.
night, which, episode 3. And we're excited about. Before we break down episode 3 next week, let's talk about episode 2 from the previous week, because there were some things that were encouraging and then some things that were make you scratch your head a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest concern for me was DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill here, right? Some players are quiet, some players are reserved. That's fine. But did you hear him even verbally respond to Deuce Staley when he was coaching him?
Not
I think
really,
once on the sideline when he was like, I scored a touchdown. And Deuce is like, yes, but
he was still on
didn't
the
do
play
what I coached you to do.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Which matters, because if you're not going to do it in the preseason, you're not going to do it in a game. Now, listen, the cut that DeAndre made to score that touchdown in game 1 was a beautiful cut.
Yep.
But if it's your proclivity to bounce the ball outside of tackles, you're going to lose more yards than you gain on average.
Yeah,
you can't outrun everybody in the NFL.
No, it's not gonna happen. And it wasn't a situation where like he didn't have like blocking or like he was sitting behind a situation where like somebody was dead after him. He had a hole. He just chose the wrong way to go and it got collapsed. Staley called him out right away on it. Yeah.
So, did you think Deuce was a little too hard on him though?
No, because this is what you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to coach young players. He has to, understand, his gaps, his zones. He has to understand how to be able to read, what's in front of him. And I don't want to say it was discouraging that he was like quiet. Like, I mean, I understand from players, but you get chewed out, especially right after a touchdown. It's like, hey, why don't we talk about that? Nah, let's coach how you can be better. So I understand it a little bit, but I feel like this is going to be their dynamic all season. I mean, he's the young guy. He said that he has the hope that he can have 1,000 yards rushing and receiving.
I hope he does.
I don't think he realizes how hard that is, but they're going to give him the ball a lot. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But,
but in order for him to meet that goal, he's going to have to play hurt, right? The difference between being hurt and injured, as Deuce told him.
Right.
So, that's one of those things. Leaf Roller says, what do you think about the helmet on the Swift TD?
Yeah,
I don't, like off the top of my head, don't recall that. What take me through it.
Yeah, so he was, he had a lane that he had a guy behind him that kind of like leaned him to make the tackle, but he got collided with. So he got taken out by 2 guys and he got smacked in the helmet where he still reached the ball over and scored, but you could still see that they collided pretty nasty. He's not a big guy either. So yeah, Lee, I'm pretty worried about that as well because he's not like a physical runner that way. So
he's not, and bouncing the ball outside, as Deuce has kind of been like alluding to, is him avoiding contact. Now, is he avoiding contact because of the previous injuries that he's had, and he doesn't want to go through that? Like, I don't know, but you need to see like a little bit of toughness out of him because Deuce Staley said he's one of the best I've seen, and okay, great. Like I appreciate that, but it's potential is just potential until it's tapped into.
Right.
And so hopefully he'll be able to stick his nose up in between those tackles. Hopefully he will not continue to bounce outside. Jeff makes a great comment about the way he runs. Like it's a miracle that he makes it through a season uninjured. Or if he makes it through, sorry. I was about to say he hasn't made it through a season uninjured. Makes some pretty dangerous choices, jumping defenders. Yeah, I'm not a huge hurdling fan, but some guys are. Yeah. I just want to see it, right? Like, he can be a good back.
Yes, we all
now,
see that.
You took him before Jonathan Taylor.
Right. That hurts.
Okay.
Arguably the best running back in football now.
Yeah, so I mean, there's always going to be those comparisons, but if DeAndre wants to be in those conversations, then he's got to put himself in those conversations.
Yeah, I really want to see him. I really want to see Dan Campbell kind of coach that old school gritty way. I want to see him behind a fullback. I want to see him
Yeah.
have kind of that extra layer of security because he's gonna need it. He's gonna take a lot
Somebody,
of contact. Yeah,
it's
I'm
like our
worried about
buddy
that.
last week said, Corey Schlesinger, just call him back,
It's
see
yeah,
what
just
he's doing these days, right?
yeah,
And bring him in
yep.
to be
He
the
got
fullback.
his tape ready and the single bar on the helmet. He ready to go. He probably
That
sleeps in that thing still. Hell yeah, let's go.
you know what? He might. Okay, so other things from Hard Knocks, right? Like again, another very entertaining episode. You had Aaron Glenn's speech, right? Like that whole
Mhm.
idea of, Jonah, how many games you lose at Ohio State? Lost one, coach. Why? Because we woke up every day knowing we were going to win. That's the mentality we got to get to, right? Like those things are important for a team like this and for a culture shift that we have talked about. Another thing that is, I don't even think you can call it under the radar anymore or sneaky, is Malcolm Rodriguez.
Rodrigo.
Which,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
our boys on Rain City Roar, which you can catch them on Wednesdays when they break down the Hard Knocks episode and react to it. They'll also be live 1 hour after the Lions game during the season,
Yes.
to just react as fans and to the game. But they were saying, and I tend to agree, that might be the most unoriginal nickname ever given to somebody.
Yes.
Like
I wasn't
Aaron
blown away
Glenn could
by it. I
not
was
have
like,
been,
"Alright."
and props to our guys in on the media team that put together the reel of Rodrigo as Mighty Mouse, right? I almost said
Yeah, I
Minnie
saw that.
Mouse, which
Yeah.
would have been bad, but Mighty Mouse. To be
Yes.
clear, like that's an infinitely better nickname. What a
Yes.
terrible nick! Like you are now Rodrigo forever because it's on Hard Knocks in perpetuity. You can't. You're never going to outrun that name now. That
Set.
sucks.
The good thing is though, he's playing so well, he'll have
It
plenty
don't
of time
matter.
to get another nickname. Trust me. He's outshining Jared Davis by a mile right
Well,
now.
it's not. I mean, there's rocks on the street that outshine Jared Davis quite often. So
And that's
I
kind to say, yes.
I understand that, but okay. Does Malcolm Rodriguez start week 1?
Yes.
You think so?
I
Like,
I don't even have an analysis. Yes, he's been the as Kelvin Shepard said, if he's the better guy, he's the better guy. And he
and
literally
that
has been their most consistent in that core. Like he's been in coverage and run support. He's bouncing off of like
yeah.
the line. Like he's just been all over the place. He should start week 1. He absolutely should. Yes.
When they were breaking down that film and he was like bent around the lineman making a play in the hole. And Kelvin Shepard
Yes.
was like, I haven't seen a linebacker make a play like that in years. Like I was
Yes.
like, wow, okay, this is a good thing, right? We talk about the linebacking core, right? Like those of us that are not worried about the backup quarterback position are actually concerned about, the defense, the linebacking core specifically on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good thing. And the encouraging thing from Hard Knocks is I love what Kelvin Shepard said. If he's better than you, he's going to play. This is
Yep.
a blank rookie
Yes.
that's outplaying you.
Yep. And you were just talking about this with Deuce Staley in terms of his coaching to DeAndre Swift. You had the same exact energy here with Kelvin Shepard, the linebacker core. Like he is just killing them in the
So,
meetings. Like, hey, you're
Jacob
giving me
asked a good question. Can he actually, Rodrigo, Mighty Mouse, whatever we want to call him, right?
yeah.
Can he actually cover a running back tight end in the regular season is the real question.
Yep.
He kept pretty good coverage on Phillip Lindsay, and I understand that Phillip Lindsay is not like, the end all running back in space. So I don't want to like make another mountain out of a molehill on that one.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with Rodriguez in coverage on, say, a tight end is the size disadvantage that he is going to give up.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like at minimum, he's going to be giving up 6-7 inches on these guys.
Yep.
Right?
But
Like think about him guarding, and I know it won't happen, much if at all, but like a Darren Waller, who's
right.
massive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even like a Mo Alley Cox, who I believe is a former basketball player from the Colts. Like I know those are AFC teams, but still, like the point stands that like him in coverage against a tight end is going to be a disadvantage and something where you may have to commit a second defender over the top.
Of course.
Kirby Joseph, Tracy Walker, who can kind of
Mm-hmm.
bracket a tight end and come over the top to make sure that, jump balls just aren't being tossed out on Rodriguez.
Yeah, of course. He's gonna have to prove it. I mean, we definitely got to see it before we crown him. But from what I like speaking of what we know, what we've seen so far, he's at least in position. We've seen Jared Davis miles lost. We see Derek
Yeah.
Barnes running around, in no man's land trying to find his guy. So at the
See, I
very least,
think
Rodrigo's in position. I can at least give him credit for that.
we know that Jared Davis, for all of his flaws, is at least a decent pass rusher.
Mhm.
Why are they not moving him to an outside edge or stand up end, or just put your head down, go get the quarterback, right? Don't
Yeah.
worry about coverage because you can't cover anybody. You
No.
can't cover anything.
No.
Um, that linebacking core is so bad. I honestly don't think that Rodriguez starts week 1.
You don't think so?
I think he's shown enough, but I think the hand hasn't been forced enough yet. Now there's still time to go, right? Like there's still a
Okay.
couple weeks to go. So I don't want to be too out on a limb here, but I a 6th round rookie pick, had a great camp, right? Wants it more than everybody else. Sure, I get that. Will they really do it? On the other hand, I think is a completely different answer.
We'll see. I mean,
We'll see.
I definitely think he'll be at least in the special teams, and if he's
Oh yeah.
making havoc there,
Okay,
and
hold
we
on a
see,
second. Let's clarify. He will be starting on special teams.
no, I'm just
We
saying that's where he's going to get his opportunity to
Okay.
shine. So if he
Yes.
doesn't go, I think he will start on the defense, but at the very least, we know he'll be on special teams making plays and getting his name
Yeah.
out there. Yeah, we agree
For
there. We're good.
okay, all right. As long as like you didn't think I was crazy thinking that he'd
No,
be
no, no,
riding
no,
the
no,
bench when we're kicking the ball off or punting the
no,
ball.
no,
Which
no.
hopefully we're not doing much. Hopefully we're doing a lot of the kicking off and not a lot of the punting in week 1 against Philadelphia. We do know that we have a preseason game against the Steelers coming up. It sounds like Mason Rudolph will be starting for the Steelers,
Mm-hmm.
maybe as a showcase.
Don't you do that. Don't even start. Don't you start. Showcase for
Hey,
somebody else. Yeah. Showcase for somebody not in Michigan. Sure. Yeah. It's
would
not
you
happening
wouldn't
again.
take Mason Rudolph over the 2 that we have?
No. No. He's basically the same guy. He's their tier to me. He's that bad. Come on, man. Are we really doing this for Mason Rudolph?
No,
What
I'm
if
just
we
saying. I look. This is why, because of the way that you are reacting right now. Please do not punch your computer.
like I'm seeing people really act like he's some coveted
No,
target.
he's
Like, are we
not.
being serious?
He's not. He's not. He's not.
Okay.
He
Okay.
was good because he had James Washington to throw to, right? Like that's why he was good at Oklahoma State. Um,
Right.
week 3 preseason against the Steelers coming up. We will have reactions to that live next Monday. Okay. Make sure that you are dropping your comments into the chat. Eric, go ahead and let's transition to college football. I'm gonna tee this one up for you.
Let me
Why
talk
don't you
about it.
introduce everybody to our next topic?
All right. So it was announced last week. This has been in conversation for a while, actually, among the NCAA, where the Big Ten was working on a new media deal, and they've come to a $7 billion agreement. Yes, billion with a B. 7 year, $7 billion agreement. I think it shakes down to where that the math is, I believe, $71 million is going to be distributed to each team in the conference amongst that deal. Uh, unbelievable money is being spread out. I believe it's what Fox that's coming in on the deal.
They're already with Fox
Okay, so the
because
dudes.
Big Ten games are on Fox,
Okay, so then it's CBS,
CBS,
NBC,
NBC, and Peacock.
right, and then it's Peacock. I think FS1, I think, is a part of it as well. Huge power move by the Big Ten. I'm pretty surprised by it. I didn't know how big these figures are really going to be, but I can't say very very proud to see, because I know they've been trying to go back and forth with the SEC as establish themselves
Yeah.
as kind of the powerhouse conference, and I think I don't know if it puts them in the lead, but they're structuring in that direction to like overtake as that number 1 conference.
Yeah, so it's insane, right? With the addition of USC and UCLA, that kind of helps to kind of bring in those bigger dollars as well, because you're getting into a massive media market out on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
But what's crazy to me is what did I read? Let me check my notes here. Oh yeah. So in this deal, You have Fox Big Noon Kickoff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Beginning in 2023, Fox Big Noon Kickoff, the primetime CBS 3:30 slot where you normally see Alabama is now
Yeah.
going to be a Big Ten team.
Yep.
And then your primetime game is going to be on NBC.
Yep.
So if you are a Big Ten fan, you are seeing 3 different games in all of the coveted college football spots.
Yep.
And it's going to be, like you said, right? They're trying to compete with the SEC. And this deal is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy the amount of money. However, that money doesn't actually start like kicking in significantly until the third year.
Right.
So like it was the per revenue takes off in year 3 when UCLA and USC join. Sorry, but then you have all these slots to on TV on Saturday. That's just going to be like Big Ten, Big Ten, Big Ten. And if you think that Fox really ramroded the Dallas Cowboys down our throats every Sunday to make them America's team, well, guess
Right.
what? The Big Ten just became America's conference
It really
because
did.
when you turn on your TV, no matter what time slot on Saturday, it's going to have a Big Ten game on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to have, with further talks of expansion with other teams potentially as well.
Yep.
Notre Dame is always in that conversation. Potential of like a Washington, a Cal, a Stanford also
Stanford. Yeah.
potentially joining the Big Ten. You're talking about, a super conference as far as athletics go. Not just, I mean, this is not just a football move, and
Right.
it's insane,
Yeah. This
entirely
isn't.
insane.
Yeah, I don't think it's a. I talked about it on the news desk as well. I don't think they do a whole lot for like the big powerhouse teams. I mean, I think Ohio State, Michigan, they were always going to have their cake and be at the top of their exposure. But for teams that needed like those fringe contenders and the teams that are just trying to get over that hump, I think this is a huge play for them that they're going to take advantage of.
I think so too. And like I was also reading that the Big Ten championship game is going to rotate. So in
Oh, okay.
2023, it's already on Fox. In 2024, it'll be on CBS. On 2025, in 2025, it'll be back on Fox. 2026 on NBC. 2027 on Fox. 2028 on CBS. 2029 on Fox again. So it's just like they're doing everything they can to just be like, we're here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no longer will the Big Ten be on ESPN. I think it's like the first time in since 1971 that a Big Ten game won't be shown on. That number could be wrong, so I'm sure all the
It's
internet
decades for
sleuths. In
sure.
fact,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
a while. Yeah,
decades
yeah.
for sure that there won't be a Big Ten game broadcast on ESPN starting in 2023. It's insane, and the beauty of it, Eric, we got all this college football talk on last weekend. The weekend that we watched the Lions and the Colts
Mm-hmm.
was the last weekend without football until February of next year.
Yes,
College
sir.
football starts this Saturday, week 0. Not a ton of games on the slate, but man, college football starts. You got any thoughts on college football this season? I know that you're just kind of digging a little deeper into college football. You don't really have a huge let's be clear so our fans get to know us. Are you a Michigan guy or Michigan State guy?
Well,
And
I mean,
you've answered this a little bit already.
fans can actually talk to me and convince me because I'm still kind of on the fringe deciding myself. Again, I don't really have ties to either school. I have friends who've gone to Michigan State. Shout out to Gusson, who was just in the comment section. I know he's a Central guy. I don't have no ties anywhere. So, I mean, if I can be persuaded either way, let me know. But I am very interested to see what happens. I mean, Michigan finally
The
had
answer is
their
Michigan,
crowning moment.
by the way.
That's who I need to pick. Okay, so that's sway number one. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do. I'm see if they can repeat the magic that they had last season. Ohio State obviously, coming back with Stroud in a high-powered offense that they're going to come back with. It's a lot to be interested in. So I mean, I get to watch from an unbiased perspective, and that's the best way to do it.
That's not a bad
like
way to
it from
do it, I
this seat.
guess.
Yeah,
Not a bad way to do it at
I
all.
don't have to be stressed out from this seat. I'm good.
So Charles asked a question about this this massive, deal. Do you think that the quality is going to go down with it being on all these different services? And there, you got to remember, if you have cable, you'll get it on Fox, you'll get it on CBS, you'll get it on NBC. The games that are on Peacock, you would have to have a subscription to, or watch on Peacock if they're, depending on, I don't know how they do it. Like, for instance, speaking from experience with MLB, like MLB moves some of their Friday night games to Apple TV, and I thought that you'd have to have a subscription for it, which I don't
Right.
have a subscription to Apple TV, but I can still watch those games because they're
Mhm.
actually free on Apple TV.
Oh,
So I
okay.
don't know if they'll do the same type of thing with Peacock or not. But do you think that the quality is going to go down?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's a lot of quality football on the rise, especially with the teams at the top. They're still getting stronger, and I mean to say that the quality would go down, was it going down when Alabama was rolling whoever they were playing at 3:30? So I mean to say that the quality would go down, I think it's a fair question. I'm not
It
upset
is
at it,
for
but
sure.
I don't think that's something to be questioned. I think it'll be fine.
And ooh, I actually don't. I think it's actually going to improve the quality of college football in a way, because this is the first step.
Hmm.
Because okay, and Big Ten's going, all right, SEC, your move,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And the SEC's kind of already been doing that, right? They brought Texas A&M in, they brought Texas in, they brought Oklahoma in. Like I get
Yep.
all they kind of, but like okay, you're getting to the point where you're going to see two super conferences
Right.
in a big way, right?
Go head
And
to
then
head. Yeah.
yeah, and that's going to be, and it's going to solve a lot of problems, right? It's going to help to create better competition, I would imagine. And when you have better competition, the quality is better.
Of course.
And don't forget that you have some of the, in my opinion, some of the better broadcasters on CBS that always call SEC games. Now they're getting to call Big Ten games, right?
Yep.
It's gonna be nice to hear Jim Nance call a football game with Michigan, right?
Yeah.
NBC, Mike Tirico calling a Michigan game, right? Even
Hmm.
though Mike Tirico doesn't necessarily work for the, I think he actually contracts with Notre Dame, but like
Okay.
you get Gus Johnson and all these other guys, like you get all the best broadcasters from all the best networks that are gonna be on. It's gonna be, especially for the big game.
Nope. I'm here
Um,
for it.
Charles asked about the smaller conferences, right? Like we're talking about power conferences. What about the smaller conferences? Charles, I know why you asked this question, right? And we want to look out for the little guy when it comes to life, not necessarily when it comes to sports, my man.
Yeah,
Like,
they don't care about them, bro. They follow the dollars. That's what it's all about. I'm the ultimate fan of the underdogs and letting
yeah,
the
I
small
love
and
an
little people
underdog.
shine. But in the world of college football, where the money follows and controls everything, it's just
Yeah.
not where we at, my man.
So the smaller conferences will probably have their own thing going on. It just won't be as televised as the bigger stuff, right? Because you're essentially creating, in a lot of ways, a minor league system for the NFL.
Exactly.
In a way, if you get these super conferences and power conferences together. So here's the thing: college football starts this weekend, week 0. There's it- it's football, right?
Mm.
It's not going to be games that are bar burners that you're just like, I've got to tune in. But you got Vanderbilt at Hawaii, Wyoming at Illinois. You've got Nebraska versus at Northwestern. So that could be a good game, which is also a game that is being held in Ireland, Aviva
Whoa.
Stadium in Dublin, Ireland.
Hmm.
And it will air. I'm looking for a time real quick. Oh, it doesn't say on there.
Ireland's a wild.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. We'll have to get the time on that and post it. But
Okay.
Nevada's also playing New Mexico. UConn is playing Utah State. Austin P is playing Western Kentucky. And those are some games that you can look forward to this weekend, because football is back as of Saturday. Not even preseason football like we've been enduring with the Lions. But
Exactly.
but actual football, that matters, because preseason football is all about depth. Let's move on to the Lions. Let's get some fan interaction. This is where you have to comment in the comments for us. But the question is, and Eric and I have some prepared, but we want to know Who are 3 Lions that were your favorites that you believe are forgotten about in the annals of history, whether that's NFL or Detroit Lions history, even people that you say their name and they're like, oh, yeah, I forgot that he played on our team,
I gotta
right?
fill my cup back up. Okay.
Fill up that blue
hmm
Kool-Aid, man.
This is a
So
sad topic.
a sad topic. Why has it got to be
Yeah.
sad?
Because I was tired of these guys, man. I had real high expectations for these 3 names right here. I'm gonna let you go first, though.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah, I want you to name
All
your
right.
first one.
So, and you guys can tell me if you agree with me in the comments. You can tell me if you don't agree with me in the comments. That's totally fine because this first one's going to be a little controversial. Because in the 1998 draft, at pick number 20 of the first round, the Detroit Lions selected Terry Fair. And I was happy that they selected Terry Fair because I was a young guy in 1998, right? I was like 12 years old. Okay. Yeah, I was 12. I did quick math. I'm not a math teacher. So, Terry Fair gets drafted. All right. And the reason why I was like, oh, I know that name. I'm glad he plays for my team is because I had watched the national championship game where Tennessee had won with Peyton Manning and Terry Fair was on that team. And I remember Terry Fair returning kicks and guarding guys in coverage. So I was like, oh, we got a good player, right? I'm 12 years old. Cut me a break. But that is a guy that is one of the favorites that's forgotten, right? And I think that he's forgotten because at pick 21 of the 1998 draft,
Go ahead.
the Minnesota Vikings selected Randy Moss.
That number 84 guy, yeah.
That guy who at one point in his career did celebrate by mooning the crowd. That hilarious. Randy Moss.
That's hilarious.
Who probably would have looked phenomenal in Honolulu blue.
Could have had Randy Moss and Megatron in our pantheon of receivers. Oh, that'd have been dirty. But yeah, that's bold. That's bold. As soon as I heard Terry Fair, the first thing you think of is Randy Moss. Fair was okay. He was a return guy. He was exciting, flashy player. But I mean,
but you understand why. You understand coming from a 12-year-old.
Of
why?
course.
Okay. There's some sentimentality to me, even though if I don't care about the little guy when it comes to sports.
No, he's one of the Silver Dome greats. I ain't mad at that at all.
Go with your number 1.
Oh man, I was so high on this guy here. My dog Mikel LeSure. Yeah. I was so hyped for Mikel LeSure. The Lions around this time had so many running backs coming from Barry, where they had like the Javid Best, Kevin Jones, Kevin Smith, just these brittle, and some were like undersized and like the small, like we're talking about DeAndre Swift being small and built. Mikel LeSure is supposed to be that bruiser, and he was okay for a year, but for whatever reason he fell off, didn't really play after that. He had like 10 touchdowns when he actually had some like full-time reps. I thought he was gonna be the dude. I was so hyped for Mikel LeSure to just
I almost put those other 3 running backs on my list. Kevin Smith was one that I definitely, because Kevin Jones was the one out of Virginia Tech.
Yeah, one of the black jersey legends. Yeah.
Yep. Obviously Javid Best, but he's not really forgotten, right? Like everybody knows, like, and Javid Best would have been really good had it not been for the concussion issue, which makes what I think it was Jacob said earlier about, DeAndre's helmet shot in the end zone. Like that'll give you flashbacks and PTSD if you're a Lions fan, right?
Absolutely.
Number 2 for me, I believe he wore number 4, did not wear wristbands or gloves. Big old Luther Ellis.
94. Okay.
I think I'm pretty. Let me check. I got it pulled up right here. I want to make sure that I'm correct. But I was right. He was 94.
That's what I said. Oh, I thought you said 4. Sorry, no, cut off. 94. Yes, 94. Yes,
2-time Pro Bowler. He played for the Lions from 95 until 2003, and for an interior lineman, was quite durable. Started 16 games, 14, 16, 16, 14, 16, 13, 14. And then his last year here, he didn't start a game, but he played in 5 of them. An impact guy, two-time Pro Bowler, was, I believe, part of the line with like Robert Porcher as well. And just kind of that I don't want to call him a poor man's Warren Sapp, but like he was that anchor of the defensive line, and oft forgotten about. But Luther Ellis, man.
Yeah, that's a good one. The Lions have had a good generational rotation of D tackles and D linemen that were just dogs. Luther Ellis was in that core. We had Sue just before with like Corey Williams. This has been a lot of guys that have like fall through the rotation. Sean Rogers, Nick Fairley. It's been a lot of those guys. So he's right.
Sean Robinson, even though what's his name hated him.
The Mr. He'll be out of the league in 2 years. Patricia, offensive. We got to get in that one day.
How about this one? How about this one on the screen?
Mike Williams. Oh, man.
Williams, if he could put the Twinkies down. Yeah, you're right. Like,
he had that Kelvin Benjamin explosion of weight. It's just nuts.
That whole run of receivers being drafted is actually something that I have made myself forget about. So I wasn't even going to put them on this list.
I almost put
Charles Rogers and Mike Williams. Yeah. Who was the third one?
Roy. No, not Roy Williams.
Yeah, it was Roy. Is it Roy? It was Roy, and then Charles, and then Mike, and then it was Calvin. Yeah, and it was like, but when they drafted Calvin at 2, you were kind of like, "Oh my god, again another receiver."
Not me. I was so high on Calvin. I had the Kool-Aid flow and see what he was doing at Georgia Tech. But yes,
I understand that. But like when you've come out of the,
right
depths of missing on wide receivers with high first round picks.
Yes.
Okay. Anyways, number 2 for you.
All through that. Okay. My number 2 guy, Ernie Sims. Ernie Sims was supposed to be that next elite face at linebacker for the NFL, especially this one, because I remember the Lions were just changing over to their new jerseys too, and he was one of the more popular
Ernie
jerseys.
Sims. I thought you meant Billy Sims. No, because he wore 20 before Barry, right? And I was
yes, he did. Yes.
Okay.
Not forgotten.
Right.
Yes.
AJ being an idiot tonight, I was like, Eric, you understand this is like forgotten players. Like I understand that Barry wore 20, but like, okay,
give me some credit. Yeah. Ernie, yes, my man Ernie, number 50.
My bad, I fully apologize.
Yes, listen, I thought Ernie was gonna be the dog. Like he was, we had seen his highlight tape when he was at Florida State, how he was a hitter, was always flying in the gaps, making plays, and he was just not that. Like he couldn't cover nobody. He was like always loose on tackles. Like he had him, Boss Bailey, and there was one more linebacker that was like rounded off that trio that was supposed to be way better than they were, and it just never happened. But I still think about you, Ernie. I hope you're doing well, man.
Charles hits the nail on the head here, and it's right in the last one. And the Lions have had major talent. It's a shame that so much has gone to waste. You're right, Charles.
That's a fact.
Right. That's kind of where we're at here, and that leads into my third guy.
Okay.
I'm probably going to get yelled at for this one.
Okay.
So I'm just setting you up now. Like, I can see people being upset with me. Favorite, most forgotten Lions player, Herman Moore. And you're going to sit there and you're going to say, AJ.
Did you just wouldn't be Billy Sims? You got Herman Moore?
But I have an argument. I can't
wait to hear this, please.
When you talk about some of the best receivers of all time, okay? Herman Moore is not argued up there because he's not in the upper echelon of best receivers of all time.
Okay. That's fair. But
he's a top 70 receiver all time in receiving yards.
Mm-hmm.
He is a guy that played a very long career, and I think is arguably a very underrated, a la forgotten player.
Okay.
When he played. So yes, I twisted it a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe you're all that cheap, but I'm telling you, Herman Moore, I think, is one of those kind of forgotten. The original 84. If I might be so dare as to say.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I mean, I like how you twisted it. He's definitely not mentioned around national circles, but again, that's what makes Detroit fans so elite. We
4-time Pro Bowl, 3-time All Pro.
Yeah. He was a dog. Like he was one of the. It was him, the Johnny Mortons, Jermaine Crowell. Like he was the first of those like stretch of receivers of the Lions franchise that were like just dogs. Maybe not winning, but they were always making plays up and down the field. So
how good can you
I'm
really
okay
be
with
when
that.
Scott Mitchell's throwing you passes?
Exactly. What are you supposed to do with that? Like he was terrible. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I was ready to jump through because you went off of me for Billy Sims thinking I was doing that, but okay, I get it.
Jess
That
got
makes
my back
sense.
though.
I'm
You
getting.
didn't bring him up with Megatron and Randy Moss.
I mean,
That
come
even
on.
might be out of context, but it supported my narrative, so I'm gonna go with it.
I don't even like mentioning Randy Moss with Megatron, but I mean, we'll talk about that another day. It's okay. I got a lot of ammo before the season starts. Don't worry about it.
I got everybody on my side. Look at this, Charles.
Okay.
He's with AJ.
Charles, how you come on, man? We came to grips on our conversation, and then you go turn on me just like that for AJ.
This is 2 weeks in a row you called out a fan.
I'm just losing all the fans. How am I the bad cop here?
Eric is becoming public enemy number 1 while
This
AJ
is horrible.
sits back and just.
I got the hat on. I'm with you guys, man.
I got the shirt on. Gear up Detroit, baby. Gear up Detroit.
Oh,
treading water until we bury you. I got the shirt on. So Detroit versus everybody, or tread water until we bury you.
Okay, well let me get my people back to my side with my last one. I'm very excited with who I got for this one.
All right,
my man Louis Delvis, big old Louis Delvis. I gotta get him in this group. Louis Delvis is the only player in the Lions jersey that I've ever seen wear gold teeth. He was the only player. I remember his highlight say when he came out of West, I think his second or third rounder. I was so hyped for him. We saw him second round. Yeah, we saw him filling gaps and making big time hits and make all the plays. He got to the Lions and could not. I don't ever think I remember seeing him wrap anybody up. He would always come in trying to lower the boom on some Bob Sanders and Bobby Dawkins type players or Brian Dawkins. He just never made that happen. I was excited for Louis Delvis, and he faltered so bad. Ugh. And he couldn't stay healthy either.
He couldn't stay healthy. He started 15 games in 2009, started 15 games in 2010, started 11 games out of 11 in 2011.
That's
then
like
the next year, but then the next year he was in. So like he must have gotten hurt in 11, if I remember correctly, and then that carried over into 2012 because he only played 8 games there. But then he finished his career starting 15 out of 16 games in 2013 with the Lions.
He got injured like Darius Slay got injured. Like you would play the game, but you weren't making the whole game. You would play 2.5 quarters. He would
game started is not a good statistic for Louis Delvis.
Exactly. So he started, but he didn't finish. Like he would make a play or two maybe, but he was not playing through the fourth quarter ever. Like he had the same type problems.
That's a good one. I could take that. Like I can. You are 26.
Yeah, he had the black visor. Oh, so hyped for him because they had so many layers of that defense too. Like you thought he was like one of those missing pieces, and he was just not it. He was not it at all. Shout out to Western Michigan though. I mean, I'm sure he's revered there. I'm sure.
All right, so we have given you our 3 most, our favorite forgotten Lions. Maybe you agree with them. Maybe we're insane. That's up for you to decide in the comments and let us know. We have a new episode of Hard Knocks that is dropping tomorrow night. Make sure you are tuned in at 10 p.m. And then Sunday, the Lions take on the Pittsburgh Steelers for their 3rd and final preseason game. And then regular season time, baby. Regular season time to see what this team actually might have.
Yes.
And it could be good. I still am going to set the ceiling at 8 wins for this team. I don't think my perception of them has changed yet, but maybe we'll see what I'm thinking if I too am drinking that blue Kool-Aid after week 1 when they play the Philadelphia Eagles. We will see. But we're going to be here from now until then every Monday night at 7 p.m. So make sure that you are tuning in to Beyond the Box. He is Eric Vincent. I am AJ Reilly. We will see you again next week here on Beyond the Box.